Hello and welcome back to James Talks Property. My name's James, and if you're new here, this channel is all about helping property investors grow their knowledge and understanding of the property investment market without gimmicks or unrealistic promises. Before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe and share this video to anyone that you think will be interested. Today's episode is all about flipping properties. So, what is a flip? A flip is essentially where you purchase a property, you add value to that property through a renovation, and then you sell the property for a profit in a relatively short space of time. It's a great strategy for someone who's looking to generate lumps of cash through property investing rather than generate a steady, long-term passive income. Or if your goals are quite short-term and you need to be a bit more aggressive in your property investment strategy, this is a good way, a slightly higher risk way, but a good way to grow your pot of cash as quickly as you can to then invest in things that are a little bit more passive. One of the most important things when doing flips and the flipping strategy is finding the right property to do it with. These properties could be things that are cosmetically tired but structurally sound. I don't subscribe to the idea that you should buy properties that have structural issues because people are scared off and competition is lower. The reason the competition is lower is that existing property investors and people that know what they're doing aren't going for that property because they know how long it can take, how much effort and how much money it can take to add value and get these properties sorted when there's structural damage. So you know what you're looking for. You're looking at structurally sound properties that are cosmetically tired, but how do you buy them on the open market or off market? What you need to do is look for motivated sellers. Those motivated sellers can come from a lot of different backgrounds. That might be properties that have gone through probate and people are waiting for money to come in inheritance. It could be through repossessions or tired landlords who no longer want to own the property or add value to the property. They just want a quick sale and get their cash out of the property. Remember though, although you're looking for motivated sellers, you need these properties to be in good locations or areas that are improving so you can sell the property quickly out the back end once you've done all the work on the property. The truth is, there's no shortcut to finding these properties. You'll have to do a lot of work, speak to a lot of people and make sure that your name is out there, that people know that you're looking for these types of properties. That might mean going into estate agents, making sure that your name's written down. That might mean that when they get a property that meets your requirements, that they're going to call you because they're going to know that you're going to move quickly and you're not messing around. This will take time. So you're not going to get the property that you offer on first or second or even third. The likelihood is you're going to have to offer on lots and lots of properties because you're going to be strict with your numbers because you need to make the profit out the back end. That might mean that some people may outbid you because they don't need to be so strict on the numbers because they're not looking to flip the property. They might be home buyers that want a renovation project. They might be people doing the buy, refurb, refinance model that don't care as much about getting as much cash out the back end. Or it could be people just looking for buy-to-lets and willing to do the work when they purchase the property. Do not get disheartened if you miss out on a few offers. Keep going, get really organised, create a spreadsheet, make sure that you're following up with the estate agents. Even if you miss out on a property where you get outbid or anything like that, keep in touch with the estate agent because things happen within property. Purchases fall through, situations change, and if a estate agent knows that they can call you to stop messing around and make sure that they'll get a buyer that's motivated, they're going to do that so they can get the sale. Try and make sure that you don't get carried away though. Although it's exciting, and this is one of the part, if you have the time to go and do it, it's one of the more exciting things where you're comparing deals, you're doing your numbers, you're doing your due diligence. However, do not get too excited. And what I mean by that is overpaying for a property or not getting the right deal for you because you need to make the profit out the back end. The easiest way to analyse if you're buying at the right value or making sure that you've got the margin in the property that you're looking for is go through Rightmove. Don't just look at the marketed prices for properties on the market right now. Look at sold prices on the same street, in the same area, at the same or very similar square foot and make sure that there's the value in that so you're buying at the right price, you can add the value to the property through the renovation and you can still make enough profit out the back end. One thing to be aware of from that perspective is you do need to make sure that you're looking at the square foot of these properties. Just because one house on one street is worth £100,000 or £70,000 more than the other doesn't mean that if you get a new kitchen in it, that your property is going to add that much value. The reason for that difference in price might be a little bit because one property is tired and the other one is done up to a good standard, but a lot of the time it is to do with space and square foot within the property. So if you're doing a flip and you're able to add space through extensions or loft conversions, you're going to really drive the value of the property price up, but make sure that you know your numbers inside out. This brings me on to my third point, which is managing cost and maximising profit. If you're an investor and you're looking to start flips or get better at flips, you need to know your numbers inside out. That's things like stamp duty, legal costs, broker fees, your deposit, your refurb costs, capital gains tax if you're going to pay for that, estate agent costs, and everything within that. Again, I'd recommend creating a spreadsheet, running all your numbers on that spreadsheet, and making sure when you find a new property, you run those numbers first, you don't get carried away, and you stick to that. If it gets into a bidding war, walk away. It's not right for you. There'll be more properties. Keep on top of your spreadsheet when you're tracking properties, and eventually you'll find the right property to flip for you. The big thing with this is you make your money at the point of purchase. Obviously, during the refurb process, you're going to drive the value of the property up through adding value, creating space, or anything from that perspective. But if you overpay for the property in the first place, all that work is worth nothing. So please do not kill your deal before you've even got started, because how this first flip goes for you, or the first few flips go for you, will determine how you invest moving forward. And if it goes wrong, you're not going to go near it again. And one of the things linked with making that profit is being able to do the project in a relatively short space of time. So you need to know your team that you're going to bring in. You need to know the professionals that are going to come in and do the work, that the materials are going to be delivered on time, and everything from that perspective. Because if that project starts to take a month, 2 months, 3 months longer, then that's going to be more cost for you with utilities and everything from that perspective, and a smaller profit. Now let's dive into some of the mistakes that people make when starting out with flipping, so you can be aware of these, mitigate the risk, and maximise the success of your own project. One of the main mistakes people make when they don't have a background within the trades or within project-based property investment is underestimating the cost of the refurb itself. In the modern day, materials and tradespeople are expensive. You need to make sure that you know those numbers inside out and give yourself a 25% wiggle room on that budget, because things will go wrong, there will be additional costs. It's just a matter of time and what it is. But if you're aware of that and it still works on the numbers point of view, then you're all good. The second is the market. Flips are obviously more risky than buy, refurb, refinance or buy to let, because you need to sell the property on the back end to make your profit. This means that if there's market changes, you could potentially be stuck with a property with lots of money in that property and not being able to find a buyer out the back end. This is why it's a higher risk strategy, and doing things like bridging finance, if you've not got the experience of adding value to properties, probably isn't the way to start when you're a beginner. The third risk is over renovating. Obviously you want to add enough value to the property where the price of the property gets driven up through the work you've done, and it's then an attractive place for people to live in the future. However, if you spend lots and lots of money on things that aren't necessarily needed and don't add that value to the property, you could be eating into your profit. Remember, you're not going to be living within the property. So unless you're buying a property in a really high or expensive area of the country already, and it needs to be the top quality materials, if there's a decision between high-end materials or middle of the road materials, the chances are you probably should go for something in the middle of the road. Having said that, don't just cheap out. You're going to need to sell the property, so it's going to need to look good quality for home buyers to want to live in it and buy it. Mistake 4 is the financing costs creeping up. As I've already touched upon, bridging finance is expensive. So if you've got a project that goes on and on and on, that becomes more and more expensive, and the chances are you're not going to make any money out the back end. If you're in a position to buy in cash, then I'd do that. But costs can still creep up even when you buy in cash. That's things like utilities, council tax, and everything from that perspective while you're doing the work on the property. The final mistake I see quite a lot is legal and planning issues. Planning permission is not something that happens overnight or is super straightforward. So if you can add value to a property where you don't have to get planning permission, then that will be a way to do that. Doesn't mean don't do extensions. If you can extend a property and not exceed those requirements, then it gives you the best opportunity to still add value or add enough value to the property without those costs creeping up. So that's essentially that. If you're looking to do this, make sure you know your numbers and you get very organised with looking for properties. It will take time, but be patient and you'll get there in the end. Thanks again and see you soon.